Hey, good afternoon. Words can't describe how excited and happy and overjoyed I am right now by watching what is currently happening in the U.S. Armed Forces, specifically the Department of War. Today there was a huge meeting and get together over in Quantico, Virginia, military base there, that was attended by President Trump and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and they basically got all military leadership from all over the place, and they got them all sitting down in one place, so that way President Trump and Secretary of War Hegseth could basically talk to everybody. And bottom line, the message that is getting put out from the very top to all military leadership is all about the change in warfighting culture, the change from the secretary, from the Department of Defense to now a Department of War. And it's a much deeper thing than that. It's basically we are now transforming we're transforming our military from what it's been, unfortunately, for a while now, which is a degraded, weakened military to a real warfighter's military. We're transforming soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines and Coast Guardsmen into now genuine warfighters. Something that should have been happening for decades and decades, but for a lot of reasons, for cultural reasons, politically correct reasons, ideological reasons, all kinds of silly reasons, we have basically watered down the intensity and the prowess and the power and the passion of warfighting to something else. And thank God now we're finally starting to see a change. The purpose of preparing for war is not because you love war, you love violence. Me, like so many others, all we want to do is just, all we wanted to do when I was 21 years active duty is you want to go out there, serve your country. You love people, you love your family, you love your friends, you love your country, you love your friends, and you basically sign up, you enlist to serve your country. So that way, God forbid, if something bad happens to your country, you defend your country against evil, against bad people, and you protect those you love. And then you go home, you do your job, and then you come home. That was what we signed up for. That is what I signed up for. And for far too long, while I was active duty, we it was just hard being able to wanting to go out there and do your job, but then being compounded and influenced by forces that kind of slap you in the hand whenever you want to go out there and just do your job as a warfighter. Thank God that's all changing now. Thank God, thanks to President Trump and Secretary of War Hegseth. So I could tell you a lot of real time, specifics, explicit examples of what I went through in the military, good and bad, as far as some of the cultural issues and problems. But thank God that now it's getting addressed moving forward with the newly revamped Secretary of War. Secretary Hegseth brought out 10 points that are really important. I want to talk about those. Again, this is just so exciting. I'm just so excited as a patriot. Once a Navy chief's always a chief, right? I retired a few years ago, but I'm really excited and passionate as a patriot and as a citizen and as somebody who loves my country because I know that young people want to serve their country, but I've also talked to a lot of parents. And I can tell you right now that to any parent, to any kid who wants to serve and enlist, there's no guarantee that as soon as you serve and you put the uniform on, the world's going to be a nicer place and your enemies are going to hate us less. That we cannot guarantee. The enemy always has a vote. What we can tell you now is that moving forward, you're at least entering a military culture that is more lethal and more deadly, more motivated, more serious, more professional than ever before. You're going to get trained to do your job. And you're going to get good leadership that cares about you. It's going to hold you accountable. That's going to toughen you up, but it's going to prepare you properly to do a job, right? And help you at the same time to be a good citizen and to love your country more. All right. So these are the 10 things that he mentioned in his 10-point plan to refocus military. One, ending politically correct leadership. That's deadly. That's dangerous. That's bad. I mean, and I mean deadly in a bad way. When there's I'm going to tell you right now. I'm just going to speak in my. I'm just going to use. This is how I talk every day when I talk to people. Politically correct leadership is bad because it causes them to ignore conversations that need to be had. It makes people weird and shy and shut up when they're not supposed to shut up, but it makes them talk and say things that don't need to be said instead of focusing on the mission, on the job. That's what politically correct leadership looks like real time. It really sucks. Trust me. When you want to just show up and you want to do your job, and I'm not talking about being a buffoon or a bull in a china shop. If you're a serious, focused professional that wants to show up and simply perform your job and communicate about relevant, important matters regarding to the job, Yeah, you got somebody that just is off, that just wants to focus on other silly things other than the job. That can get really frustrating as a warfighter. I'm glad that they're focusing on fixing that. Number two, imposing new physical fitness standards. So no matter how in 21 years that I served active duty, even today as a retiree, and until the day I die, I'm always going to be a fitness guy. I never stopped running, no matter how much pain. And trust me, there were times where I was physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually breaking all throughout my career. People that know me when I was active duty, they know how hard I physically trained. I was a dude that was running on Friday and Saturday nights while a lot of people were partying, stuff like that. I mean, it's just me. Physical training, running, lifting weights, playing sports was my asset, my outlet. That was my stress relief. I mean, some people like to do different things, right? To unwind, to feel good. For me, I always loved training, but I always took physical fitness seriously. If you're a member of the armed forces and you wear that uniform, damn it, look like one. Look like a damn service member. Look professional. Look sharp. Look tough. You know. So that I'm glad that they're refocusing on that. Uh, Number three, tackling ideological garbage. Again, that kind of goes back to the first one. Ideological garbage. If you send a service member, a young service member out there to defend our country and defeat evil and come back home, that's what we're training you to do. I don't need you going out there having silly little debates about ideologies, political ideologies, things that really don't matter. I can show you. I can tell you right now. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. As a believer, as a Christian, there were times where I served alongside a lot of people that were very different than me in terms of the faith, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of sexual orientation, all kinds of stuff. Let me tell you something. Um, I'm an outgoing guy. I'm actually a very friendly, outgoing guy that likes to talk to everybody. I'm like a real free spirited dude, personality wise. I'm two people. I'm a very serious hard ass when it comes to the job, but I'm also like a really friendly guy. When I was active duty, I liked talking to people that were very different from me. I'm talking about some really out there people. As long as when it came time to do the job, let's get the job done, man. I was very friendly and outgoing by nature. I still am. I like to talk to everybody, but when it comes to doing the job, let's get the job done, right? Let's do it like professionals. Let's focus. Let's lock on. And I was that way when I was active duty. There were times where I can tell stories where there were persons that when it comes to sexual orientation was a big part. There were gay, lesbian, persons that I served with, right? And as a Christian, as a believer, right? I really didn't. I'm not judging. Isn't my style. Right, when I'm around people, hey man, as long as you do your job, I got your back. I'll take care of you. And I'm just that kind of outgoing guy. So what I mean by that is professional is important. It wasn't a time to go out there and, I mean, there were time to address certain things that may worthy of conversation about certain matters, but you really got to put a cap on that and you really got to focus on the mission. And that's kind of what I did. So that's really important that we're not really zooming in we're not really prioritizing that ideological crap instead of focusing on the mission. Eliminating anonymous complaints. Look, if you got something to say to somebody, man up. You know what that means is that in the military, there's this culture of people sending complaints because they want to complain about their chain of command or about this person or that person, and they send this anonymous complaint where they don't have to identify themselves, and then it gets investigated and looked into. Um, I'll tell you right now, no matter who you are in life, if there's an issue with a person, man up, talk to that person. A lot of people don't talk face to face anymore. They prefer texting and emailing and stuff like that. Make a phone call, see them face to face. My wife and I had issues recently with some persons, right? With certain people, and as time passed, I had the chance to address it face to face with certain individuals who were connected to that environment. And face to face interactions do not have to turn to physical confrontations. It is about respect. It is about transparency. It is about professionalism. It is about humanity. When we have to talk to each other, Charlie Kirk taught us that it is very possible to have respectful dialogue with people, and disagree respectfully, but at least you're talking to each other face to face, eye to eye. That's important. So that's where that condition that he mentioned, eliminating anonymous complaint, comes into play. Is that if you got beef or issues with anybody, communicate it, represent, stand and deliver, identify yourself, tell the other person, entity, respectfully and professionally what the issue is, and communicate. Right? Don't hide behind a computer and then just put these things. Oh, you're doing all this person's doing that, but you don't identify yourself. Right? Man up or woman up, whatever. Reinstating discipline and grooming standards. You got to look sharp, be professional. In the military, their standards exist for a reason. Physical grooming standards. Make sure that we adhere to those standards here. Focusing on military strength. We got to focus on our strength. We got to be strong. We gotta take care of business. We gotta make sure that we have the best weapons, that we have the best training, that we have the best that we instill and embrace a spirit of excellence in all that we do. Emphasizing merit. That's a big one. I mean, that transcends. And that's not just military culture, but it's also, I presume, other cultures, corporate, public sector. I think there's a lot of frustrated people out there that feel that merit is not an issue. A lot of times it's tenure. A lot of times it's political connections. A lot of times it's who you know. Oh, that's the way the world runs. Bullcrap. Merit is important. If a person is good at what they do good at their job, and they're trying hard, they bring strength to the table. They bring merit. Merit has to be considered, right? So that needs to be part of the conversation. And when it comes to evaluating personnel and situations, emphasize and redefining toxic leadership. Look, this is important. This is very important. This is a good conversation. Redefining toxic leadership. Toxic leadership is leadership that is weak, unprofessional, immature, buffoonish, and doesn't basically just is not competent. That's toxic leadership. Toxic leadership is not A toxic leader is not somebody who basically is going to hold you accountable. Too many times we call it, oh, he's a toxic leader because he makes me feel uncomfortable, just because the leader's holding you accountable. As a leader, if that leader cares about you and they're professional and they have their best, that doesn't mean they're perfect, but if they have your best interest in mind, they're going to hold you accountable. They're going to say, we need to have a conversation right now. Come to my office. Let's sit down and talk. I heard so. Oh my God, this was such a problem in the military, and that's why I say it's been watered down and weakened. Is that so many service members were afraid, complained because the leader's too mean or harsh, or he makes me feel uncomfortable because he wants to have a conversation because he's too intense. Bullcrap. All right, there is a difference between toxicity in the form of attacking people, hurting people, insulting people, being sarcastic. Rude, cruel, asshole, jerk is no good. That's toxic. But being serious, intense, being firm, right? Holding you accountable, having genuine conversations, trying to get to the root of the problem and trying to figure things out, right? That is not toxic. That's sincere. That's genuine. It doesn't mean we're perfect. Trust me, that doesn't mean that we're perfect, but it means that does not mean that we're toxic either. It just means that we're committed to training and developing as leaders and to have honest and serious conversations, and that they continue to get you where you need to go as a service member. All right. The next one is purging woke leadership. There's no room for wokeness in the United States Armed Forces. That does not mesh. That does not mix. And finally, revising personnel record retention. All right. Basically taking a look at serious personnel record matters. I really honestly don't know what that means. It sounds really fancy, but it's a good thing. Bottom line, again, just super excited about what's going on right now, and I'm just so glad that we're taking steps that we're going in the right direction as U.S. Armed Forces. And if you're a parent, if you're a kid, if you're a parent of a kid that wants to serve and enlist, I would definitely consider it. If you're a young person that is considering serving, I'm telling you, now is the best time to do it. All right? Take care. God bless.